Hello, everybody, and welcome to the STN Pro session for all those of you that are attendees and watching. As you entered, you probably got to read a little bit about Michael in his bio there. And today he's going to be doing a session on the introduction to professional video delivery. We're glad that you're here. The way this works, if you have not been to a pro session for STN, and I should recommend that you go back and check all these out afterwards. Even if you saw one and said, oh, it was at a different time, I really would like to go. These will all be posted on the STN website and into the vault, but you probably won't have access to that, but some of your teachers will. You can ask them and they'll do that. We will also, at the end, have about 10 minutes for any questions that you might have for Michael. And we'll use the raise hand feature, and then I will unmute you. I'll ask that you state your full name and what school you represent and state, and then your question to Michael, and we'll go from there. So without any further, give Michael all the time he has. And it's my pleasure to present to you, and I'll mess up the name, Michael Guastamacchio.
Thank you.
I get it wrong.
All right. No problem at all. Yeah, welcome everyone. Appreciate the opportunity to be here and be presenting. We had partnered with STN for a little while, so it's been really great to kind of see all the good work that they're doing. And yeah, it was really honored to have a chance to be a part of this seminar. Obviously, we couldn't be here in person, but kind of the next best thing. And yeah, if you're wondering, I'm in my RV out in Joshua Tree. So if you're kind of confused about the background, what's going on, yeah, I'm kind of working remotely out in Joshua Tree. Went hiking yesterday about 14 miles, so that was pretty amazing. But so just some context there. But yeah, so we'll go for about 30 minutes, give or take, 35 minutes, and then there's about 10 minutes for questions. And just kind of an upfront thing, this isn't a plug for MediaZilla. We wrote this blog last week, and really the thing was, the overall idea for this seminar or this presentation is just to kind of get you to think differently about presenting your projects and how you're actually delivering them. And, you know, if MediaZilla is a good fit for you, fantastic. You know, so we love to serve the community, and we have a lot of members on the platform and people within STN. And you guys may have seen, but, you know, we have Christopher Columbus High School, Omar Delgado, who's been a longtime member, and we have a few other Laramie School District and a few other ones. But the main purpose of this presentation is really just to kind of, like I said, get you to think a little bit differently about the concept of delivering your videos, your projects. And the first takeaway is really making sure that the actual delivery process is not an afterthought. That's probably the first nugget or piece of information, if you will. We found that talking with members over, you know, the last years, decades, it's very common where so much effort is placed on the actual, you know, the video itself, the project itself. Maybe there's multiple videos. So, you know, anywhere from obviously doing all the editing, the color correction, making sure that the audio is perfect. But oftentimes the delivery is not really even considered, and the end user experience isn't considered. So in this kind of first part of this, we wrote this blog. You're welcome to check it out on our site, but just going to kind of go through here. But kind of the problem space that we defined is that, again, it is kind of this afterthought. And a lot of times people don't really think about the process, and they're thinking, okay, well, I'll just throw it up on Google Drive. I'll put it up on Dropbox. Maybe I'll put it up on YouTube. I'll email out the link. And those work. They're functional. There's no question about it. I mean, I use Google Drive. I use Dropbox. I use all these services, email every single day for work. The difference, though, is when you're trying to make an impression and really kind of knock the socks off your client, those tools, they weren't really purpose built for professional video delivery. And I understand, obviously, some of you guys are student journalists, and so you might be thinking, well, what's the big deal? I'm not a paid professional. But the idea should be that you want to aspire to that professional level. Like, that's the caliber of work that you want to put out. And it's not like it's some massive expense or, you know, it's this huge undertaking. There are a lot of great services out there and tools that can make the presentation of your projects look amazing. And, you know, just as a simple example, kind of going through it. So if we look at Dropbox, for example, right? This is our Dropbox account. We have some of our marketing assets, but you have this as one iteration of a presentation layer. So if you think about, if I'm an end user, if I'm someone that's viewing all of the hard work that you put into it, am I getting the best takeaway? Am I getting the best kind of experience from your blood, sweat, and tears for your video, looking at a Dropbox link or a folder and figuring out how I play these videos, how I download them. A lot of times the Dropbox, there's actually limitations on the length of videos. Um, and we can kind of take the same correlation to uh, Google Drive as well. So if you look at Google Drive, kind of similar, right? It's similar to what I'm going to see on my, if I'm on from Windows, if I'm on Mac OS, more of a folder structure, not really meant to kind of present content. So just that this first high level is just really trying to get you to think about your presentation differently. And one of the other components too in this is also thinking about, how it's actually being presented. So it's very common where sometimes you may have the same client that's going to have multiple deliverables, right? So it might not just be delivering a one video to a client one time. You may have follow-up projects. You might have multiple videos as part of a project. So, sending them, I kind of jokingly say, but 15 share links from YouTube, Dropbox, Google Drive, text messaging them, what have you. So that's just kind of the brief overview there of kind of the problem space as we see it. So the next component of it is, what are the current solutions? Great. We kind of went through some of them. Obviously, some of you guys might be using Vimeo. It's a very popular product. Service has been out forever. Dropbox, Google Drive, and then this may be beyond some of your guys' generation, depending on how old you guys are. But, for a while, DVD, Blu-ray, and even USB drive were big in professional video delivery, both in Hollywood, movies, TV shows, and also in the professional video world. So there's obviously been a transition that's taken place. But as crazy as it sounds, there's still a lot of people that will deliver on DVD and Blu-ray. And, kind of our take on this is that they've had their heyday and we understand the functionality of them. But when you're really looking for, looking towards the long game and trying to be future thinking and really looking for the long term, these formats have some really big inherent limitations. And the biggest of which is really, if you think about it, you have to keep that physical device and you also have to keep the ability to play that device or that medium kind of forever, So when you think about this, if these are your only copies, so if I only have a physical copy of a DVD and I don't have any online version, I don't have the MP4, that disc can get scratched, lost, broken, you name it. And so I'll go into some of the stuff below, but we gave examples of, if you think about all the mediums that media went through, between 8-track and records and Laserdisc, DVD, Blu-ray, Betamax, like VHS, all these different formats. And the common thread is that the physical portion of it is very much, it's kind of inherently flawed. And so that's just kind of one component that we tried to extract out of here. And, it's kind of an analogy. I'm not a huge fan of kind of reasoning by analogy, but if we want to look at a corollary, we take a look at, okay, what are some of the huge services that all of us know? Disney Plus, you can go look at the subscriber numbers. I mean, they're off the charts. You go look at Amazon Video, Hulu, Netflix, and you can even see Netflix, they kind of figured this out where they, for the most part, they jettisoned their, physical delivery business and moved everything online and realized the power of streaming and putting things online. So yeah, the current solutions, kind of going back to this first part, for the most part, Vimeo, Dropbox, Google Drive, there's probably a handful of other ones that you guys might use, maybe even using your own server and things like that. But we'll get into more about these ones, kind of some of the limitations. So the next component, we kind of, say, why does this actually matter? Why should you even care about professional video? Why are you even attending this seminar? Like, why is this even worth your time to consider? And really, there's kind of the biggest component is people who are paying you to film content or have certain expectations to deliver a professional product. Whether they tell you or not, I think there's a certain amount of letdown by getting that kind of link from Dropbox or Google Drive and not having this beautiful presentation layer around it, not being able to add it to an account, not knowing where that content lives. And you know, in this kind of figure it out sentence, we've actually, this is almost a direct quote from, one of our members in the industry, kind of before they started using our service, where they would produce all this amazing content, and when they would actually deliver it, they would use the Dropbox or Google Drive method, um, and kind of just let their clients figure it out. They kind of put the onus on them to figure out how to actually consume this media, how to get it on their phone. Is there an iOS app? Is there a TV app? Can I get this on my Apple TV? Can I AirPlay this? And we kind of felt like there was a much better way um, to tackle that challenge. And so, really, when you guys are thinking about how you want to deliver your projects, the big thing is really almost like put yourself in the end user's shoes, and what would be your expectation. So if you think about kind of going back to some of these services, if we're looking at Netflix, especially YouTube, if you guys spend any amount of time on YouTube, what's actually really impressive with this service is that you can pretty much pull it up on any device, any TV, whether you're going through a web browser, mobile browser, the actual app, and the videos just play pretty much perfectly. You can adjust, the resolution, the playback speed and stuff like that. But for the most part, it's a pretty seamless experience. So if I email you or text you, a link to a video or post something on social media to check it out, it kind of just works. But behind the scenes, that's actually a very, very complicated process that takes place. Um, but that end user experience, that client experience of being able to access content on any device, have a really good experience. And we'll go through some of the solutions that we've kind of identified, but that part is really, really important and really shouldn't be understated. And that's where we feel like, going through a Dropbox or Google Drive, they're great for file transfer. And, if I'm sending you a Word doc or an Excel file, they're really impressive services. But video is inherently kind of a beast, and it's its own medium, and it has its own challenges. And as trivial as it sounds, kind of internally within our company, we always jokingly say, video is hard, and it's kind of our little mantra. So anytime, you guys may have experienced this, but when I'm watching HBO Max or Netflix or Amazon Prime, Prime Video, any of these services, you guys may have seen this, but a lot of times there's bugs that pop up, there's error notifications. I always take a picture of this and I'll post it in our Slack channel, and let our team know about that, because even the vast resources that these companies have, it's still a very, very challenging medium, especially when it comes to streaming video. And and these are purpose-built solutions. But Dropbox and Google Drive, they're not meant to actually really deliver and stream professional video. That's not really what they were built for. And kind of the last part of this section, real quick, is you guys may be familiar with this term, but maybe not. What's referred to kind of as your Net Promoter Score. So this is basically looking at what are the people who are kind of actively wanting to promote your service, and kind of put their neck on the line to say, I kind of vouch for this person and the quality of the videos, the product that they actually put out. And then on the other side of the equation, you have what's referred to as kind of detractors. So these are people who are going to say, no, I would definitely would not recommend using their service. The video doesn't look great. Their skills aren't where they need to be. I didn't see the value proposition. And then there's this kind of neutral territory where they're kind of indifferent, if you will. So you guys can Google this, check it out. But this is something where, this Net Promoter Score, this matters. And this matters when you're trying to get more views on your video, when you're trying to get more customers, if you're trying to get more subscribers on your YouTube channel. These things are really, really important. And so, again, going back to that theme of kind of trying to create that really high quality end user experience, that's where you want to use a service that actually thinks about these things to help with this Net Promoter Score. So very cool. So moving along, yeah, kind of streaming is the future. Now, I know a lot of you guys are in school, like obviously Student Television Network. You guys are the younger generation, and streaming is maybe all maybe you've never even touched a DVD or Blu-ray. Maybe you've never even seen a VHS, a Betamax, any of these things. So this may be kind of trivial for you guys, but obviously there's a people of all different ages that are consuming video and consuming content. And, streaming, as trivial as it sounds, it really is the future. And it's the way that people want to consume media. And if you look at over the last year, especially with COVID during the lockdown, I mean, you just look at the data for the number of subscribers at Netflix, Amazon Video, YouTube. You look at the amount of content that's being consumed, and in all different topics. Like I've been, I don't know if you can see now, but I have I've been learning guitar, and it's amazing how much content is out there for free or relatively inexpensive. But I wasn't going out and looking at saying, hey, send me a DVD, send me a Blu-ray, let me download some huge files. You want that kind of instant gratification and be able to watch things in real time. And so that's something that's really, really important, is thinking about, how are you going to be able to get content to your clients basically in real time. Once you upload the video, you put the presentation layer together, and you're able to deliver it. And the other component of this, I don't know if I actually tied it in here, but is when you make updates. So that's something that's super important. You guys probably know as well as anyone that it's very common where, hey, you go through the whole editing process, the review process, you upload, you deliver the project, but sometimes there are mistakes that maybe you need to correct. Maybe there was, an issue with spelling or something. Maybe the audio got out of sync, for a millisecond or a couple of frames or something like that. So it's very common to have to replace videos, and you want that content to be uploaded as quickly as possible. So going back to kind of this physical media piece of it, if you've given them a physical device, well, now you have to go through the whole process again, re-deliver that, and you're creating kind of delayed gratification for your client for getting the updated version. You're creating a whole bunch of extra work for yourself. So again, some of these things you guys it may be super straightforward, and you're like, yeah, this is a no-brainer. But again, just trying to kind of give the full context of professional video delivery. Very cool. So now we can kind of dive into the optimal solutions as we see it. And again, this isn't, explicit to MediaZilla. Obviously these are the things we truly believe in, and we've kind of put our money where our mouth is, and actually built solutions that are based on these things. But these are kind of just there's about 4 of them that we identified. There are more, but these are kind of some of the main tenets that we feel really, really strongly about. And we've built the platform around that. So, the first piece of it, we talked a little bit, clients being able to view their projects on as many devices as possible. And this is something that's really important, where it's very hard to probably determine how many devices, what specific devices that your clients have. If you look at the number of smartphones, smart TVs, streaming devices, and then even within there's people on all different versions of iOS, Android, Apple TV. They're running different versions of Mac, Windows, you name it. And so whatever service you're going with, you want to kind of have that peace of mind that when you're uploading that video and you're delivering it to your client, they don't have to think about this. There's not a plugin they have to install. There's not, a myriad of updates that they have to run. Only caveat being, obviously I'm kind of joking, but like Internet Explorer, like any of your clients that are asking for that, just tell them like use a real browser. So Internet Explorer, like dead as a doornail. Even Microsoft threw in the towel. You can go read blogs on this stuff. So don't worry about Internet Explorer. Edge, worst case, Edge, sure, but all the rest, Safari, Chrome, Firefox, you're good to go. And we'll kind of go through in this section below the device compatibility, but very cool. So the next one, clients should have kind of one, central location for all their delivered projects. So this is kind of going back to the original problem space, thinking about, okay, well, if you're delivering projects to your clients, how is that actually taking place? Is it email? Is it text message? Do you have it up on your site somewhere? And the idea here is really giving your clients kind of that centralized location that they can go back over and over and over again and log in, and they're not pinging you, asking you, hey, where's that share link? Hey, I need to download the project. Hey, I couldn't find the email, because it's very common that people are going to go back, years later after you deliver the project, you'll watch that content. Like we have members that have been on the platform since day one, and they've delivered projects, 6-7 years ago, and their clients are still watching these things. And if you think about, again, putting yourself in the customer's shoes, you think about digging through your email and trying to go search for that video, trying to remember the name of the cinematographer or the filmmaker who produced your content, like that's kind of a suboptimal method of actually accessing content. And so this is why we feel really strongly where clients should really have that centralized location. And in this case, with MediaZilla, clients can set up a free account. So they can take possession. I'll go through the process in a little bit, but basically you can take possession of this. We call it digital delivery, and they have that one central location to actually take possession of the project. So I'll kind of, run through this next one, and also peace of mind that the projects are going to remain accessible in the future. So something that's really important is making sure that these projects are going to live on beyond just some short-term trial that you might have set up on an account, or if you're running your own server, and even locally, if you're running a local server, the hard drive craps out, do you have redundancy? Are you gonna, if you have it pinned to your domain name, are you keeping that domain name going forever? So you guys can read through this. There's a lot of good stuff to unpack in here, but this is probably, this is something that's really, really important is, making sure that your clients can have access for ideally into perpetuity. And, you can check out Vimeo's terms of service. A lot of their stuff is pretty restrictive. If you ever cancel your account or, close your business, there's a lot of limitations. So we try to build in a lot of safeguards to prevent that. So even after you cancel your account, your clients still have access. And point number 4 here, projects should be future proofed. And so again, going back to the kind of original piece that we're talking about regarding physical media, and even if you put it on USB, is that the formats generally, they can change, they can evolve over time. So MP4, generally speaking, is a pretty universal format. It's been around for a long time. It's pretty much universally accessible. Same thing like an MP3 for an audio file. But a DVD ISO or a Blu-ray ISO, those ones have a lot of limitations, the way the video format is actually stored. So one of the things that we feel really strongly is by retaining that source file, whether it's on our service, whether it's on another service, if any type of streaming formats change in the future, you're able to go grab that source file and you can re-encode it. And that's something that's really, really important and kind of, maybe not given as much attention as it should. Because the big thing here is that codecs, they change all the time. So for the most part, H.264, you guys are sure probably pretty familiar with that. That's kind of the standard for 1080p and below. H.265, once you start getting into 4K, that's pretty much, it's a really popular codec, but there's even limitations of there. But then even within there, you have Apple that, they kind of went down the path of HLS, and Google created its own codec, VP8 and VP9. There's another codec called AV1. And so there's not a lot of consistency amongst the industry. But the main thing is that by, again, having that source file stored, backed up, delivered to the client, there's the ability to re-encode that version for years to come. So you don't get in some situation where, oh man, the only version I have is, some super outdated format, and maybe you can convert it, but maybe it's compressed, maybe it's not going to convert very cleanly. So that's just kind of one thing to consider. So viewing options, you guys can spend some time on here. Again, this is just on our site. If you go to MediaZilla.com, at the bottom you'll see the blog, but kind of just going back to the topic about device compatibility, you guys can kind of run through here, but this is just kind of an overview of the actual devices you're watching on, the apps that are supporting this. And then the last kind of piece here, this is, if you guys are familiar, so this is a concept that came from Toyota. I used to work for Toyota. This is a big concept, Kaizen. It basically loosely translates to continuous improvement. And it's one of these things where the reason you want to go with a video delivery platform like us or other services that you find value in is that they're constantly evolving and improving the video streaming process. Because again, it's not something that's static. Streaming video is constantly evolving. Like I just talked about, the codecs changing, and there's new apps that come online. And so you want to partner with a company that is focused on, what are the needs of a professional cinematographer and what are the needs of the end users to create that amazing experience, and constantly pushing to improve that experience and not just kind of rest on your laurels and saying, all right, well, we built this infrastructure, it's good for this use case, and it works pretty well, and we're just kind of remain stagnant. And it doesn't matter what Apple or Google does in terms of changing app requirements. It doesn't really matter what happens with browser updates, with Mac OS versions. We're just going to kind of do the bare minimum. Like, that's probably the worst approach to take. It's one of these things where you want to be constantly improving and looking at these things to understand, hey, what does Safari Mobile support now? What does Google Chrome support now? What are the new functionalities? What are some of the new streaming apps, or even devices that come out? So cool. Yeah, if you guys get a chance, we made this really cool promo video. You guys can check that out at your leisure. So yeah, so you guys probably want to see, obviously I got about 8 minutes to go through some examples, but so this is Christopher Columbus High School. This is an example of one of their actual projects that they use to deliver, they do kind of like a monthly update newsletter. So this is something really cool. So they actually took their videos, they created a collection, they were able to upload this custom background image and, link up different episodes. They got nice thumbnails and things like that. So you can just kind of see, this is kind of what I was trying to reference in terms of the presentation level. So instead of just having, a link that I'm sending you, via email, or like we showed in, in Dropbox and Google Drive, or email you some stuff, this is kind of what we're trying to talk about for that client experience. And we also, I don't have the settings enabled on here, but they can download the videos too. So that's a pretty cool feature there. So let me just hop into, and then just to kind of give you a little overview, this is kind of if you were a member, this is kind of what your account looks like for the actual delivery process. And then you can go through and, deliver the product. You can kind of see the status. And so I'll show you just kind of like a little sample of, what the process looks like. So let's say, this is one of our social media emails, and we'll say, hey, hope you enjoy, this video. And, we dispatch digital delivery, lets it know it's going out, and then should take a quick minute. Cool. So this is the email that a client would receive, and, they have a nice presentation. This actually feels, we try to create this experience where it feels like you're receiving kind of what, if someone is physically handing you something. So there's kind of a whole process you go through. We call it digital delivery, but basically we're trying to create that same feeling as if you're actually delivering a physical product to them. So they get that kind of same warm feeling, if you will. And then this is I just logged out because I was logged on my other account. But so this is, again, this taking possession process. It's got the nice background image. This is where they're able to create their own free account, like we talked about, clients being able to set up their account. So this is something that, you're not going to get from Dropbox. You're not going to get from Google Drive. You're not going to get from just sending an email to, an FTP server or, an in-house server that you guys have. So, this is kind of just one thing to consider. And then kind of going back to, again, the client experience. So this is kind of a view of what the client sees. And going back to that theme of, they may have multiple projects to take possession of. They want that one centralized location to log into. In this case, MediaZilla, they would log in, they have their client account, they can update their email, all their settings and stuff like that. And then, when they actually want to watch the content, they can watch it when they're logged in. They can also grab the share link, if it's public and password protected. I mean, pretty standard stuff for sharing content and stuff like that. But again, this kind of ties together this whole piece of, what does it mean to professionally deliver a project? And again, like I said, I know a lot of you guys are guys and gals are students, and depending what your school's budget is, and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, whether you're using MediaZilla or not, the cost to, I would say, exponentially increase the value and the perceived quality of your work is relatively inexpensive. And even though there's a lot of free services, right? Like I can get a free Dropbox account and get a Google Drive account, and yes, they're functional. You're kind of like setting the stage for, if you guys are going into this as a profession and you want to pursue this beyond where you're at right now, these are things to consider, and these are things that you can start putting in place right now. Like, you don't have to wait, you know, uh, 2, 3 years, or if you're going to film school, or if you decide to go into, becoming a filmmaker, you don't need to wait to start putting that beautiful presentation layer around it. Because if you're, you know, whether if you're trying to make a name for yourself and you want to be a well-known cinematographer, or you just want to level up what you're actually delivering in the client experience and really wow your clients, this is one way that I think you can accomplish it. Because at the end of the day, you guys are probably producing some pretty amazing content. Like, I've seen some of the content you guys are producing. You guys have a lot of really good mentors, and being part of STN is a big deal. There's a lot of like-minded people that are trying to help students level up their presentation and put a lot of time and effort, especially to these seminars. Um, and but there can be sometimes a little bit of letdown if, like I said, you spend all this time and energy and you produce this masterpiece, and then the first experience from the client is getting a Dropbox link or a Google Drive link. And if sometimes Google Drive, if it, depending on the settings, it might make you log in and it may not play back the video in HD or 4K. There might be limitations. Dropbox, I think, is like a 10-minute limitation. So depending on the duration of the video. And so whether, even though you're thinking, oh, I put all my blood, sweat, and tears into producing this masterpiece, if the client experience, if the first thing is substandard or kind of poor, they kind of almost have like a sour taste in their mouth. And so what we're really trying to do, and really the purpose of this presentation, is to really think through, like, almost do that reverse induction where you're starting with the client experience and kind of working backwards. And what is the client going to see when they first click on your project? What is their experience? Are they able to, view this on all these different devices? And once that is kind of put to rest, then yeah, obviously the quality of your product and your video has to be amazing. But we don't want to take anything away from that, and you don't want to take anything away from that. So yeah, I'll kind of tie it off there. Again, I could talk about this for probably 3 days, but I'll kind of leave it there. Yeah, maybe we can open up for some Q&A.
Okay, if any of you have any questions, you can use the raise a hand feature, and then I will unmute. I'd ask that you state your name and the school that you're representing in there. And if nobody goes first, I'll ask you a question, Michael.
Sure.
Let's see if somebody gets brave enough there. But while you're thinking about that, your site that you have the content on here, is it just for upload, or do you have the RTMP stream feature to it? Can they stream content to it, to their channel or to their content? Or is it like a storage vault and playback engine for videos that I'm thinking of, like the school in general might have, store all their content here? You mentioned one of them. They might store all their content there for future reference and picking up from there.
Yeah, great question. So right now, yeah, we're really, our main focus is streaming video on demand. So we don't have live streaming, synced up as far as like streaming directly to a channel. It's definitely something that's come up. We've had some more requests coming up for it. So it's kind of one of these things that we've been tracking down and looking into. The main thing, and this is true of any software development company, is, really trying to understand what are the current providers not solving. So, obviously there's a ton of streaming providers, free and actually pretty good. YouTube, Facebook, there's certain limitations, and there's live streams. So for us, we're planning on probably building it, but the first step is kind of digging into what are the big underserved needs that the other providers out there aren't solving.
Right.
And then to your question, yeah, so what is MediaZilla? So yeah, we're a video delivery platform, and very much kind of a video CMS, so content management system. So this is in beta right now. This is kind of a view where we're doing, we have a closed beta testing that we're doing right now. We just rolled out project organization. But yeah, the concept is where you're going to upload all of your content, all of your videos, and then you're going to organize that. We call it collections, but that's basically the presentation layer, like we were discussing. So this is basically a collection. It's an editable menu. It's kind of like a online DVD or online Blu-ray kind of like a Netflix style menu system. And then the big piece of it is actually the ability to permanently deliver projects. So Vimeo and a few other services, we really view them more as sharing platforms. And most members we talk to, that's what they use them for. Like most people, we have tons of members who have, probably at least half our members have Vimeo accounts, but they don't deliver the client projects through Vimeo. They'll upload a teaser, they'll get SEO out of there, they might post some stuff on social media, but they're using our service to actually deliver the end product to the client, where they can set up their free account, they can adjust privacy settings, and all those good things.
Yeah, well, I know that teachers in school systems have an issue sometimes. Facebook and YouTube and Vimeo are available, but they're restricted as to far as the projects that students create and put up for STN or anything else. So it makes it. But this is an excellent idea for that, and it gives somebody a school a place to have content. Does anybody else got any questions there? Can you raise hands, please? Somebody got to say something. Nobody. All right. I think everybody's being shy, Michael, so they're not really saying much. That happens a lot.
Yeah.
Great content, great information. I don't think that, I think sometimes students, it takes a little bit to sink this in, to go, how is this going to fit into what I'm doing in my video production life, whether it's any type of production or video content that they're doing. I have a student that I had that went out of the video production into started up his own company, and he does aerial video production and shoots drones of like real estate property, and they obtained his pilot's license, and he uses high professional drones to do this. And he came across the same issue as a place to store his content securely, where clients could go look at it and then see something like this. So this provides a great thing for that. And I think the students, as they think about it a little bit, will think about their content in the future. You can't just put everything on YouTube, and even if you had a secure channel, you're always running into problems. So
yeah, it's a great point. Yeah, and I guess one of the things to kind of add to that is the way we built the platform was really focused on the filmmaker, irrespective of the types of projects. So this is something that can be used for a variety of projects, versus there's some services out there where they kind of focus on one particular type of project, which can be okay. There's some filmmakers where maybe they only shoot weddings or they only shoot real estate and things like that. But what we found is that a lot of people, and you guys may find this too, that as you start working on more and more projects, or if you become a professional filmmaker, sometimes people will go all in on commercial, they'll go all in maybe on event cinematography, but it's very common where you have a variety of types of projects. And so you don't want to be using multiple platforms, ideally, to deliver different types of projects. So these were kind of just some samples that we came up with. So we have a lot of people that are in that do theater, that do dance recitals. We have people who film content for training videos. Obviously, bar mitzvahs, these are kind of event cinematography. Same with wedding. This is a project one of our members did for. This is a software company that does dealer inventory tracking for car dealerships and stuff like that. Like I said, we went over dance, and then obviously, high school performances, either performances, but also student journalism, of course. And then, this is one of our members. He's in Houston. He does a lot of very similar drone shots, a lot of aerial footage for commercial real estate and things like that. So, it's something that definitely can help you guys out for delivering multiple types of projects.
Yeah, very good. All right. One last time, anybody have any questions by raise hand before we let Michael go here? Well, Michael, thank you very much for your time and great presentation. I'm going to recommend this to definitely to other teachers, because I can already see a benefit in getting student content out and having a place to house it without dumping it on a public server like YouTube or Vimeo or something. This is where they can password protect certain content and allow content for other, which you really can't do on YouTube or Vimeo that I'm aware of. So this makes a great thing for that. Thank you very much for your information today, and thank you, students, for attending. And I guess we'll end it there unless you have anything else, Michael.
No, that was it. Yeah, I just want to thank everyone for their time. Really appreciate it. And yeah, if you guys have any questions, you can email me directly, either Michael@Mediazilla or support@Mediazilla. You can check us out. Got a lot of content on here. But yeah, really appreciate you guys' time. And yeah, I wish you guys the best of luck with your filmmaking career.
One thing I would recommend, Michael, is you take the link there and drop that in the chat feature so that
Sure.
the students there can pick that up and even afterwards in this. That way they'll be able to write that down, and it's in the chat feature for them to pick up there. All right, very good. All right, thank you very much, and look forward to the end of the STN convention coming up, everyone. So good luck on your contest, and thank you for attending this pro session, and thank you, Michael, for your time.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks so much, everyone.
All right, bye-bye.
Okay, take care.